2 hours before she died, she stood barefoot on cold marble, staring at a reflection she barely recognized. The bathroom lights hummed. White roses perfumed the air. Outside the honeymoon suite, the Pacific Ocean whispered against La Jolla cliffs, promising romance, promising forever. She reached for the makeup wipe and thought, this is the last time I'll ever feel like myself. If you're watching this from your bed right now, heart racing because you know something terrible is coming, hit that like button. Because what happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about the person sleeping beside you. Her name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that 2 hours after she removed the foundation, the contouring, the carefully applied confidence that carried her down the aisle, someone removed her from this world. 5 bullets. Close range. In a locked suite with only one other person inside. Her husband. The man who, when detectives arrived at 6:47 a.m., said something so specific, so intimate about her body that only the killer could have known it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Drop a comment right now telling me where you're watching from. Because this story, it could have happened in your city, your neighborhood, your wedding venue. Let's rewind. She arrived in California 3 years earlier with a dream folded into a single suitcase. 26 years old. Makeup brushes wrapped in t-shirts. A portfolio on her phone. $500 in savings. The quiet mountain town she'd escaped felt like a memory she was actively trying to forget. Her mother's voice, "You'll never make it there. Girls like you don't belong in Los Angeles." She wanted to prove her wrong. No, she needed to prove her wrong. Her first apartment was a studio in Koreatown. Barely 400 square feet. The radiator clanked. The neighbors fought. But from her single window she could see the city glowing against the night sky, and it felt like possibility. She took every job. Wedding after wedding. Photo shoot after photo shoot. She worked 16-hour days, perfecting her craft, building her reputation one face at a time. Her Instagram grew slowly, then suddenly. Brides across LA started requesting her specifically. "She makes you feel beautiful without changing who you are," one review said. "She sees you," said another. And she did. She looked at each client, really looked, and enhanced what was already there. Soft, natural, glowing. She never covered people up. She brought them forward. That's what made her special. That's what made her dangerous to a man who needed control. He entered her life on a Tuesday in March. Corporate branding shoot. Silicon Beach. The kind of event where everyone wore expensive casual clothes and pretended not to care about status while obsessing over it. She arrived early, set up her station, and began working through the talent lineup. Then he walked in. Tall. Tailored navy suit. Watch that cost more than her monthly rent. The kind of man who'd been told his entire life that rooms should rearrange themselves around him. And they did. He wasn't her client that day. But he watched her work. Leaned against the wall. Sipped his coffee. Stared at her hands as they moved across someone else's face with precision and care. When she packed up her kit, he was waiting by the exit. "You're incredible at what you do." She'd heard compliments before. This one felt different. Heavier. Like it came with terms and conditions she hadn't read yet. "Thank you." She kept moving toward her car. "Can I take you to dinner?" "I don't really date clients." "I'm not a client. I'm someone who wants to know you." She should have recognized the phrasing. Know you. Not get to know you. As if she were an acquisition. A project. Something to be understood and then optimized. But she was tired. And lonely. And the city felt vast and cold sometimes even when it was warm. So she said yes. Pause this video for 1 second and ask yourself, have you ever ignored a red flag because you were just so tired of being alone? If the answer is yes, you need to keep watching. Because what happens to her could happen to anyone. The first date was perfect. Too perfect. Santa Monica Pier at sunset. He bought her cotton candy she didn't ask for. He took photos of her without asking permission, saying, "You should see yourself the way I see you." It felt romantic. It was reconnaissance. The second date, he brought her flowers before she'd even given him her address. "How did you?" "I wanted to surprise you." The third date, he casually mentioned her last client's name, a bride she'd posted about on Instagram. "Small world," he said. "She's a friend of a friend." But she hadn't tagged the bride. Hadn't mentioned her name publicly. He'd gone digging. Still she ignored it. Because the dinners were expensive. Because he texted her good morning every single day. Because he introduced her to his circle. Tech executives, startup founders, people with the kind of wealth and influence she'd only seen from a distance. He made her feel like she belonged somewhere she'd never dreamed of reaching. That was the trap. Within 3 months, she'd moved into his penthouse in West Hollywood. Skyline views. Infinity pool. Closet bigger than her old apartment. Within 6 months, she'd stopped posting her own content without running it past him first. The lighting's wrong. That caption makes you sound desperate. Why are you tagging that location? You want every creep in LA knowing where you are. Her friends started calling less, then stopped calling altogether. He didn't forbid her from seeing them. He didn't have to. He'd simply sigh whenever she made plans. So, turn cold. Make her feel guilty for wanting a life outside of him. So she stopped wanting it. She told herself, he just loves me too much. He's protective. That's a good thing, right? Wrong. But by the time she realized it, she was already standing in a boutique in Palm Springs, staring at a diamond ring, hearing him say, "Marry me," while a photographer he'd hired captured her stunned, confused face. She said yes. She didn't know what else to say. And 7 months later, she was walking down an aisle covered in white roses, wearing a dress that cost more than her first year in LA, smiling for 300 people she barely knew. The makeup she wore that day? She did it herself. Because even on her wedding day, she needed to feel like she had control over something. If you've made it this far, comment, "I'm still here, so I know you're ready for what comes next." Because the wedding night? That's when everything shattered. The honeymoon suite was silent except for the sound of her breathing. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, still wearing her reception dress, a simpler, sleeker gown she'd changed into for dancing. The heavy ceremony dress hung in the closet like a ghost of the woman she'd pretended to be all day. Her feet ached. Her face ached. Her soul ached. She reached for the makeup remover. And for the first time in 7 hours, she let herself stop performing. The foundation came off first. Then the contour. The highlight. The false lashes. The lipstick that had survived 200 photos and a champagne toast. Wipe after wipe, she erased the bride everyone had seen. And underneath? A woman who looked exhausted. Hollow. Trapped. She stared at herself, really stared, and thought, what have I done? Hit that subscribe button if you've ever looked in a mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. Because that moment of clarity? It was the most dangerous thing she could have experienced that night. Behind her, the suite door opened. He walked in, loosening his tie, smiling that perfect smile. There's my wife. The word felt like a cage clicking shut. How are you feeling? He asked, moving toward the minibar. Tired. You looked beautiful today. Everyone said so. She didn't respond. He poured himself whiskey. Didn't offer her one. He never did. He liked her sober, alert, easy to manage. I saw you talking to your friend Marissa during the reception. Her stomach tightened. She seemed drunk, he continued, swirling his glass. Embarrassing, honestly. Marissa wasn't drunk. Marissa had hugged her tightly, whispered, "You okay? Really?" And she'd pulled away too quickly because she didn't trust herself to answer honestly. She was fine, she said quietly. If you say so. He drank. Watched her in the mirror's reflection. I noticed you didn't repost any of the photos I tagged you in. I will. I just needed a minute. A minute? He laughed, but it wasn't warm. It's our wedding day and you need a minute before sharing our photos? I'm sorry. She said it automatically. The apology had become muscle memory. He moved closer, standing behind her. His hands rested on her shoulders. In the mirror they looked like a perfect couple. Him tall, protective. Her delicate, cherished. The image was a lie. I just want us to be on the same page, he said softly. I want everyone to see how happy we are. How happy he needed them to think they were. She nodded. His hands tightened just slightly. Not enough to hurt. Just enough to remind her who was in control. I'm going to take a shower, she said, stepping away. Leave the door unlocked. It wasn't a request. Drop a comment if you've ever felt like you couldn't even close a door without permission. Because that's not love. That's ownership. She locked it anyway. The shower ran hot, steam filling the space, fogging the mirror until her reflection disappeared completely. She stood under the water fully clothed at first, letting the dress soak through, letting the weight of the day press her down, down, down. Then she heard it. The door handle turning. Testing. He didn't knock. Didn't ask if she was okay. He just tested the lock. Her breath caught. The handle stopped moving. Footsteps retreated. She stayed in the shower for 40 minutes, until the water ran cold, until her skin pruned, until she'd convinced herself she could walk back out there and survive the night. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a hotel robe, he was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling through his phone. "Feel better?" he asked without looking up. "Yeah." He patted the bed beside him. "Come here." She didn't move. He looked up then, smile thin. "I said come here." This was the moment. The moment she'd been avoiding for months. The moment where she either obeyed, again, or spoke the truth that had been building in her chest since the day she said yes to a proposal she didn't want. "I think..." Her voice cracked. "I think we need to talk." His expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. Something cold, calculating. About us. About whether this is what? He stood slowly. "Whether our marriage is what? We've been married for 6 hours. I know, but..." "You're tired. You're emotional. You don't know what you're saying." "I do know. I've known for..." "Stop." The word cut through the air like a blade. He crossed the room in 3 strides, standing close enough that she had to tilt her head back to see his face. "You don't get to do this," he said quietly. "Not tonight. Not after everything I've given you. I didn't ask for... I made you. You were nothing when I found you. A freelance makeup artist working out of a Koreatown studio. And now, you're my wife. You have everything. And you want to talk." Her hands trembled. "I just think maybe we moved too fast." "We moved at exactly the pace I decided." There it was. The truth he'd been hiding behind charm and expensive dinners and romantic gestures. "I decided. Not we. Not us. If your heart is pounding right now, good. It should be. Because what happens in the next 60 seconds changes everything." She stepped back. "I want to leave." "Leave?" He laughed. "Leave and go where? Back to your 400 square foot rat hole? Back to begging for clients on Instagram? I don't care. I just... You're not going anywhere." His voice was calm. Too calm. That's when she saw it. The shift. The mask slipping. The realization that she wasn't a person to him. She was a possession. And he didn't let go of his possessions. She moved toward the door. He blocked her path. "Move," she said, voice shaking. "Or what?" She tried to push past him. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Not hard enough to bruise. Just hard enough to stop her. "Let go of me. Not until you calm down. Let go." She yanked her arm free and stumbled backward, hitting the edge of the vanity. The hotel phone was right there. She grabbed it. He grabbed it back, ripping the cord from the wall. "You're being hysterical." "I'm leaving." "No," he said simply. "You're not." And that's when she realized he'd already decided how this night would end. And it didn't include her walking out alive. Comment, "Oh no," if you see where this is going. Because the next chapter? That's where everything falls apart. Time moved differently after that. Seconds stretched into hours. Hours collapsed into moments. She doesn't remember who threw the first object. Maybe it was her, a glass from the nightstand hurled in desperation. Maybe it was him, a lamp swung with precision. What she does remember is the sound. Crash, shatter, scream. And then silence. The kind of silence that vibrates. That hums with violence not yet committed but already decided. He stood between her and the door, chest heaving, eyes flat. She stood with her back against the vanity, bare feet surrounded by broken glass, phone clutched in her hand. Not the hotel phone. Her cell phone. The one she'd hidden in her robe pocket because some part of her, some survival instinct, knew she might need it. "Put it down," he said. She unlocked the screen with shaking fingers. "Put down. I'm calling someone." "Oh, your mommy?" "The cops." He laughed, sharp and humorless. "And tell them what? That your husband asked you to come to bed on your wedding night? That you're having a disagreement?" She pulled up her recent calls. Marissa. She'd call Marissa. He moved fast, faster than she'd ever seen him move, and snatched the phone from her hand, throwing it across the room where it hit the wall and shattered. "No. No, 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 no. Pause right here and ask yourself, what would you do? Scream? Fight? Freeze? Because in moments like this, your body makes decisions your brain can't keep up with. If you've ever been in a situation where you had to choose between fighting back or surviving, drop a comment. You're not alone. She didn't freeze. She lunged. For the door. For freedom. For any chance at making it out of this room alive. But he caught her by the hair, yanked her backward so hard she fell, hips slamming into the corner of the bed frame. Pain exploded up her side. She gasped, tried to crawl, tried to move. He grabbed her ankle, dragged her back. "Stop fighting me," he shouted. "Just stop." She kicked. Her heel connected with his jaw. He released her with a curse, stumbling back, hand flying to his mouth. Blood. She'd made him bleed. And the look on his face when he pulled his hand away and saw red smeared across his palm? That was the look of a man who'd made his final decision. She scrambled to her feet and ran, not for the door anymore but for the bathroom, the only room with a lock, the only space she could defend. She slammed the door, twisted the lock, pressed her full weight against it. On the other side she heard him breathing. Slow, measured, deliberate. "Open the door." She didn't answer. "Open the door. Leave me alone. You're my wife. I don't care. I want a divorce." The word hung in the air like a grenade. Divorce. The thing he couldn't control. The thing that would unravel his perfect image. The thing that would make him look like a failure in front of everyone who'd watched them say, "I do," just hours ago. The door shuddered. He was kicking it. Once, twice, 3 times. The frame splintered. She looked around wildly. Window. There was a window. Small but maybe. The door burst open. He stood in the doorway, breathing hard, jaw swelling where she'd kicked him, eyes empty of everything except intent. "I gave you everything," he said. She backed toward the window. "I loved you." Her hand found the latch. "And you embarrassed me." She yanked the window open. Salt air rushed in, cold and sharp. "On our wedding night." She looked down. 3 stories. Concrete patio below. Decorative hedges. Garden lights. Survivable? Maybe. Better than staying? Absolutely. If you're holding your breath right now, comment "jump," because I need to know you're feeling what she's feeling. That pure, primal terror that makes you consider the impossible. She climbed onto the windowsill. He lunged. She leaned out. His hand closed around her wrist and yanked her backward with so much force she flew across the bathroom, slamming into the opposite wall. Her head cracked against tile. Stars burst across her vision. She slid to the floor, dazed, tasting copper. He stood over her, flexing his hand, looking at her like she was a problem to solve. A mess to clean up. An investment gone bad. "You made me do this," he said quietly. She tried to speak. Couldn't. He crouched down, eye level now, and brushed hair away from her face with a gentleness that felt obscene. "I didn't want it to be this way." Her vision blurred. "But you couldn't just behave." She felt herself fading. "You couldn't just be grateful." Darkness crept in at the edges. And then, a sound. Faint. Distant. Music? No. Voices. Someone in the hallway. Laughing. Stumbling. Drunk guests returning to their rooms after the hotel bar closed. He heard it too. His head snapped toward the door. And in that half-second of distraction, her survival instinct kicked in one final time. She drove her knee upward with everything she had left. He doubled over with a howl. She rolled, crawled, clawed her way toward the main room, toward the door, toward the voices, toward witnesses. Her hand closed around the door handle. She yanked it open, stumbled into the hallway. 2 couples stood frozen mid-laugh, staring at her. At her torn robe, her bleeding head, her wild, desperate eyes. "Help," she whispered. And then he was there, right behind her, smiling. "Honey, what are you doing?" The couples looked confused. "She's had too much champagne," he said smoothly, wrapping an arm around her waist like a concerned husband. "Wedding jitters, you know how it is." "No," she gasped. "No, she's fine. Just needs to sleep it off." He was pulling her back toward the room. The couples were already losing interest, already turning away, already deciding this was an awkward private moment they didn't want to be part of. "Please?" But they were gone, disappearing into their room down the hall. He dragged her backward. The door slammed shut, and this time she knew. There would be no more chances. No more escapes. No more mercy. What happens next, no one saw coming. Not even him. She woke to the sound of breathing. Not hers. He was sitting on the edge of the bathtub watching her. She was still on the floor where she'd collapsed, still wearing the torn robe, still tasting blood. How long had she been out? Minutes? Hours? You're awake, he said quietly. Good. She tried to move. Everything hurt. Don't. His voice was calm. Too calm. Just listen. She focused on his face through the haze of pain. His jaw was swelling from where she'd kicked him. But his eyes were different now. Clear. Decided. I've been thinking about our situation, he continued as if they were discussing dinner plans. About what needs to happen next. Her throat was too dry to speak. I built something perfect. You understand that, right? The brand. The image. The us that everyone sees. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. And you almost destroyed it tonight. Drop a comment right now if your hands are shaking. Because what she discovers in the next 60 seconds changes everything you think you know about this story. But then I realized something, he said. This isn't actually a problem. This is an opportunity. What? She'll. Let me finish. He stood, moved to the vanity, opened a drawer she'd never seen him touch before. He pulled out a folder. Thick one. Placed it on the counter where she could see it. Do you know what this is? She shook her head slightly. This is my insurance policy. Literally. He opened it. Pages and pages of documents. $2 million. Accidental death. Double if it happens within the first year of marriage. Her blood turned to ice. I took it out 3 months before I proposed. Had to get a physical. Clean bill of health. Perfect specimen. He smiled. You should be flattered. I planned for forever. You're insane. I'm prepared. He closed the folder. There's a difference. That's when she heard it. Voices. In the hallway. Not guessed this time. Something else. He heard it too. His head tilted slightly, listening. The voices grew louder. Urgent. Then, a knock. Sure. Official. Hotel security. We received a noise complaint. Her heart stopped. He looked at her. She looked at him. The knock came again. Sir? Ma'am? We need to check that everything's all right. This was it. Her chance. Her only chance. She opened her mouth to scream. And that's when she saw the gun. Not in his hand. In the drawer. The same drawer where he'd kept the insurance folder. Had it been there all along? Had he been planning? Everything's fine, he called out, his voice instantly shifting to charming, apologetic. Sorry about the noise. Wedding night celebrations got a little enthusiastic. He moved toward the bathroom door, blocking her view of the suite entrance. We still need to do a visual check, sir. Hotel policy. She watched him calculate. Watched the gears turn. Of course. Give us 2 minutes? My wife just stepped out of the shower. 2 minutes. He closed the bathroom door. Turned to her. Here's what's going to happen, he whispered. You're going to put on the cream dress. Fix your face. Go out there and tell them everything is perfect. That we had too much champagne. That you're embarrassed about the noise. No. Or I tell them you attacked me. He pointed to his swelling jaw. That you've been unstable all night. That I'm concerned for your safety and mine. They'll call police. Police will call your family. Your mother will fly out here. And everyone will watch you have a very public breakdown. Hit that subscribe button if you're seeing the trap within the trap. Because he's not just controlling her, he's controlling every possible outcome. Her mind raced. If she told security what happened, he'd spin it. Make her look hysterical. Unstable. The videos he had, the surveillance, the narrative he'd already constructed. It would all work against her. But if she didn't say anything. Tick-tock, he said. She forced herself to stand. Every muscle screamed. She caught her reflection in the mirror, blood matted in her hair, bruise forming on her temple, split lip. You can't hide this, she said. He grabbed a makeup bag from under the sink. Her makeup bag. The one she'd used on hundreds of brides. Then fix it. You're the expert. The irony was suffocating. She'd spent years making people look beautiful, confident, whole. And now she had 2 minutes to cover up her own destruction. She worked mechanically. Concealer. Foundation. Powder. The muscle memory took over even as her hands shook. Cover the bruise. Dab the split lip. Brush powder over the swelling. In the mirror, she watched her battered face transform back into the bride from yesterday. The perfect image. The beautiful lie. Another knock. Time's up. She pulled on the cream dress. It was wrinkled from being in her suitcase, but it covered the bruises on her arms, her legs. He opened the bathroom door. Gestured for her to go first. She walked into the main suite. And that's when she saw it. The person standing in the doorway wasn't hotel security. Was a woman. 30-something. Dark blazer. Badge clipped to her belt. Detective's badge. "Sorry for the confusion," the woman said, eyes sharp, taking in everything. "We're actually following up on a separate matter. But since we're here, is everything all right?" Her husband's face remained perfectly neutral. "Of course. Can I ask what this is about?" "We're investigating a suspicious death. Guest in room 412. Happened about 3 hours ago. The air in the room changed. We're interviewing everyone on this floor. Did you hear anything unusual tonight? See anyone in the hallway?" Comment, "Wait, what? If you just realized the story isn't going where you thought it was going." Because plot twist, she wasn't the only one in danger tonight. "No," he said smoothly. "We've been in here all evening. Wedding night." He put his arm around her waist. She flinched. The detective noticed. "Ma'am? Did you hear anything?" This was it. The moment. She could tell the truth. Show the detective what was hidden under her makeup. Point to the gun in the bathroom drawer. Explain everything. But then the detective said something that made her blood run cold. The victim was a young woman. Early 30s. Blonde hair. Makeup artist according to her ID. The room tilted. She was staying alone. Attending a wedding at the hotel yesterday. Anyone matching that description look familiar? Her husband's grip on her waist tightened. A warning. But she wasn't thinking about his warning anymore. She was thinking about Marissa. Her best friend. The one who'd hugged her at the reception. The one who'd whispered, "You okay? Really?" The one who'd been staying in room 412. Her voice cracked. What was her name? The detective consulted her notes. Marissa Hudson. Did you know her? The floor disappeared beneath her. Marissa was dead. Her best friend. Her only friend who'd questioned this marriage. Who'd seen through him. Who'd tried to reach her. Dead. 3 hours ago. The same time she'd been fighting for her own life in this suite. She looked at her husband. At his calm face. At his steady breathing. At the absence of any surprise. And she understood. This wasn't about her. It had never been just about her. "Ma'am?" the detective prompted. "Did you know the victim?" Her husband's fingers dug into her side. She had a choice. Protect herself. Or expose him. But if she exposed him for Marissa's death, she'd have to admit she was in this room all night. That she'd heard nothing. That she had no alibi for when her best friend was murdered down the hall. He'd thought of everything. Every angle. Every outcome. She was trapped in a web so perfectly constructed that even trying to escape would make her look guilty. "No," she heard herself say. "I didn't know her." The lie tasted like ash. The detective's eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't believe it. But she couldn't prove otherwise. "If you think of anything, here's my card." She handed it over. Her husband took it. Of course. Terrible tragedy. On a wedding weekend too. The detective left. The door closed. Silence. He turned to her slowly. "Good girl," he said. And that's when she knew she wasn't getting out of this alive. Not unless she became someone else entirely. Comment, she has to kill him, if you see where this is going. Because sometimes survival means becoming the thing you fear most. Chapter 5. The Last Makeup, 1,300 words. After the detective left, he poured himself a drink. Whiskey. Neat. Like nothing had happened. Like her best friend wasn't dead down the hall. Like the walls weren't closing in. She stood frozen in the middle of the suite, still wearing the cream dress that covered her bruises, still tasting the lie she'd just told. "Sit down," he said. She didn't move. "I said sit." Her legs obeyed before her mind could catch up. She sank onto the edge of the bed, hands trembling in her lap. He stood by the window, silhouetted against the pre-dawn glow seeping through the curtains. Almost sunrise. Almost time for the world to wake up and discover what had happened on the 4th floor of this luxury hotel. "You did well," he said quietly. "With the detective." She said nothing. "I know what you're thinking." He turned to face her. You're thinking I killed your friend. Drop a comment right now. Do you think he did it? Because the answer isn't what you expect. Did you? Her voice was hollow. No. Liar. I didn't have to. He took a sip. Marissa took care of that herself. The room tilted. What? Sleeping pills. Alcohol. Classic combination. Probably found her around midnight. He checked his watch. That would make it 5 hours ago now. You're saying she killed herself? That's what the investigation will conclude. He moved closer. Depressed. Single. Watching her best friend get married while her own life fell apart. Tragic, really? No. Marissa wouldn't. Wouldn't she? Or did you just not notice? Too busy with your own drama to see hers? The guilt hit like a fist. Had she missed the signs? Had Marissa been struggling and she'd been too wrapped up in her own nightmare to see it? No, that wasn't right. Marissa had seemed fine at the reception. Concerned, yes. Worried about her. But not suicidal. Not even close. You did something, she said. I had a conversation. That's all. He sat in the chair across from her. Asked her to leave you alone. To stop filling your head with doubts. To let you be happy. What did you say to her? The truth. That you didn't want her in your life anymore. That you'd been complaining about her for months. That you only invited her to the wedding out of obligation. I never said. I know. But she believed it. He swirled his drink. She believed it because deep down she already felt like a burden. I just confirmed her worst fears. Marissa's face flashed through her mind. The tight hug. The whispered question. You okay? Really? She'd pulled away. Too quickly. Too nervously. And Marissa had noticed. So she went back to her room. He continued, voice almost gentle. Took the pills she'd brought for sleep. Drank the minibar. And decided the world was better without her. You murdered her. I gave her an option. She made a choice. Hit subscribe if you're understanding what kind of monster we're dealing with. Because this isn't just about physical violence. This is psychological warfare. She felt something crack inside her chest. Not her heart, that had broken hours ago. Something deeper. Something fundamental. The part of her that believed people were essentially good. The part that thought love could save anyone. The part that had walked down an aisle yesterday believing in forever. All of it, gone. Why? She whispered. Why what? Why kill her? Why not just? Because she saw through me. Because she would have kept trying to save you. Because loose ends create problems. He leaned forward. And I don't leave loose ends. The implication hung in the air like smoke. She was a loose end. The biggest one. But you, he continued, you're different. You're not going to end up like Marissa. Because you're going to kill me differently? Because you're going to live. She stared at him. You're going to wake up tomorrow, well, today now, and go to brunch with my family. You're going to smile. You're going to post the photos. You're going to play the perfect wife. Why would I? Because if you don't, I'll make sure the investigation into Marissa's death takes a very interesting turn. Her blood went cold. I'll give them your text messages. The ones where you complained about her. The ones where you said she was exhausting, draining, too needy. I never. You did. Check your phone. Well, your old phone. The one I had access to. He smiled. I may have sent a few messages from your account. Weeks ago. Just in case. She felt the trap snap shut around her. I'll tell them about the fight you had at the reception. The one several guests witnessed. We didn't fight. You did. You just don't remember it that way. But 3 people will testify that you and Marissa stepped outside, that voices were raised, that you came back inside looking upset. That's not. It will be. Once I talk to them. Once I help them remember correctly. He was rewriting reality in real time. Planting false memories. Creating a narrative where she was the villain and Marissa was the victim. And the worst part? Would work. Comment, she has one chance, if you see the only way out. Because what she does next will determine everything. She stood slowly. Walked to the bathroom. He didn't stop her. She looked at herself in the mirror. The makeup she'd applied to cover the bruises was still perfect. The cream dress still looked elegant. The bride from yesterday still existed on the surface. But underneath? Someone else entirely. She opened her makeup kit. The one she brought for touching up throughout the wedding weekend. Foundation. Concealer. Powder. Lipstick. Tools of transformation. Tools she'd used on hundreds of women to make them feel beautiful, confident, powerful. And then she saw it. In the bottom of the kit, hidden beneath the brushes. The small glass bottle Marissa had slipped her weeks ago during a girls' night. Just in case, Marissa had said. If you ever need to defend yourself. Pepper spray? She'd asked. Something better. Something that looks like perfume. But trust me, it's not. She'd laughed it off at the time. Thought Marissa was being dramatic. But now she understood. Marissa had seen this coming. Had known she might need a weapon. Had given her one disguised as something innocent. She picked up the bottle with shaking hands. Behind her, through the open door, she could hear him on the phone again. Talking to someone. Confirming plans. Cementing alibis. She had one shot. One moment. One chance to either become a victim or survive. She walked back into the main room, the bottle hidden in her palm. Feeling better? He asked, phone still pressed to his ear. Actually, she said, voice surprisingly steady, I need to tell you something. He waved her off. Hold on. It's about Marissa. He paused. Held up one finger to whoever was on the phone. What about her? She moved closer. She gave me something. Before she died. A message. His eyes narrowed. What message? She was right in front of him now. Close enough to see the calculation in his eyes. The suspicion. The control. She said if anything happened to her, I should give you this. She uncapped the bottle. Sprayed it directly in his face. He screamed, a raw animal sound, dropping the phone, clawing at his eyes. The liquid wasn't pepper spray. It was something Marissa had made herself. Something experimental. Something she'd been developing for her thesis on self-defense chemistry. Something that would show up in toxicology reports as an allergic reaction, not an attack. Comment, Marissa saved her. If you're realizing the best friend knew exactly what she was doing. He fell to his knees, gasping, retching. She grabbed her phone, her real phone, the one she'd hidden in her suitcase. Dialed 911. There's been an incident, she said calmly. 4th floor. Suite 428. My husband is having a severe allergic reaction. Please send help immediately. She hung up. Looked down at him writhing on the floor. And then she did something that surprised even herself. She grabbed his laptop, still open, still logged in, and downloaded everything. The surveillance footage. The financial records. The messages to his lawyer friend, who helped make problems disappear. The insurance policy. The timeline showing he'd booked Marissa's room under a fake name. The proof that he'd been planning this for months. All of it. By the time paramedics arrived 3 minutes later, she'd sent everything to 3 different email accounts, uploaded it to cloud storage, and handed a USB drive to the detective who'd shown up right behind them. I think you'll want to see this, she said. About the death in 412. The detective took the drive. Looked at her carefully. And the incident here? Shellfish allergy, she said smoothly. He ate something at the reception. I didn't realize until just now. Terrible timing. The detective's eyes said she didn't quite believe it. But she couldn't prove otherwise. And by the time they could, the evidence would have already buried him. 3 months later, she sat in a courtroom and watched him get sentenced for conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and a list of charges so long it took the judge 10 minutes to read them. Marissa's death was ruled suspicious. The investigation reopened. And in her purse, she carried a small vial of perfume. Empty now. But she'd never throw it away. If you made it to the end, comment "Justice for Marissa" and hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting away with it, it's making sure they never see you coming.